Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Club Junkie podcast. Hopefully you're having a great week. It's already Thursday. It's wild. It's kind of another week gone by. I think I say it every week that it's crazy how fast these weeks go by. It is. And, we're getting closer to golf season. For us northern people like myself, my commissioner of my league's been in contact. The league is starting up, asking who's in, who's out. It's an exciting time for us people who've been locked indoors for the past few months. So excited about that. But before we get into today's show, just want you to know today's show brought to you by new Titleist AVX golf balls. When it comes to premium performance golf balls, Pro V1, Pro V1X have proven to be the best choice for most players. And you probably know that Titleist offers yet another alternative to the same premium performance category, the Titleist AVX. Well, now there's new AVX. If you're looking for longer distance, especially with your irons, great scoring control into the greens, and prefer a softer feel, the new AVX is for you. It's designed with a new core formulation, a softer cast urethane elastomer cover system, and a new aerodynamic dimple design. All this advanced technology adds up to a longer distance, a low, more consistent flight, very low long game and iron spin, a softer feel, and even more greenside spin and control. And it's available in white and high optic yellow. Level up your game with the new Titleist AVX. You can learn more Titleist.com. So yeah, the new AVX, I've been hearing some good things. I haven't been able to hit it yet, possibly, because I haven't been able to get outside and golf, but I've heard some really good things about it. I know the previous AVX I actually did like. It was a really good ball. It kind of launched, it's the lowest launching kind of, in a sense, out of the Pro V1, Pro V1X, if you don't consider like the left dashes and dots and things like that. But in the standard line, it's kind of the lowest launching, and I think AVX is misunderstood as like kind of a lower tier ball, and it's not. It's definitely with the Pro V1 and Pro V1X, but yeah, it just launches too low for me. But it's a really good ball, and it's pretty crazy long. So try it out. If you haven't tried out the new AVX and you're looking for something like that, definitely worth a shot. So another week. Got up to the range last weekend. Like usual, went out. My buddy John joined me this week. He'd been trying to get out, and we just schedules, family, whatever, have not made it work. But went out, hit some balls again. I don't know if I posted it on Instagram at the Club Junkie Pod. Just a little shameless plug. I don't know if I posted like an actual like shot of the bag that I brought or whatever, but the usual, brought a bag that had 50 head covers in it and bunch of clubs. So it was my usual thing, and it's always fun. It was actually a nice day. It wasn't 15 degrees. I think it was almost 30, which was kind of nice. By the end of like hitting. So I wore like kind of like this base thermal layer, and then like a long sleeve t-shirt, and then I had like a like a zip up kind of sweater or whatever you want to call it, like really light jacket. Just trying to keep things like as minimal as possible, because once you get too many layers on, you just can't swing the club. And especially with me, since I'm so chubby, that there's just everything starts getting constricting anyway, and then trying to swing a club is just brutal. So. I brought a few things, and it almost immediately took off the jacket, kind of threw that to the side, and just had the long sleeve t-shirt and the thermal layer on. Was hitting balls, and honestly, by the time I was done hitting, I was pretty much about. I was thinking about taking off the long sleeve t-shirt, and unfortunately, that base layer is just like a skin tight. Thin. You can probably see through it, and I was like, man, nobody needs to see this. This would not be good. This wouldn't be attractive to the ladies, and it would probably be horribly offensive to anybody who saw it. So I didn't, but I probably could have gotten to that point. It was getting that warm, which was nice. It was sunny out. It was just overall a really good day to go out and hit some balls, and it was fun. So went out and hit some balls. Trying to kind of dial in what driver I'm gonna play, and unfortunately, I was so like last week. I think I mentioned I'm switching over to All Fit. So Club Connects, I'm getting rid of it. I misplaced the TaylorMade sleeve for the driver. You can't really get one, and I don't feel like trying to beg somebody for a favor over there to do something that isn't in their realm of things to do. So I'm switching over to All Fit, which is, if you haven't checked it out, it's like All Fit Golf, and they do a universal system just like Club Connects. And if you're somebody who has a couple shafts and you try different driver heads a lot and all that, it's a pretty easy and nice system to use to be able to have one shaft that goes into basically every head. So the system basically works like there's a shaft tip, just like every other, like your OEM, whatever. It's a shaft tip. Looks very, very similar to a TaylorMade tip. When you look at it, you'll see it's got a similar look. And then you glue that on and cut the shaft, and then each driver has a little sleeve that fits in the hosel that has, whether it's Cobra or TaylorMade or Mizuno, whoever, it has kind of their system built into it, and then it has the all fit kind of grooves or teeth kind of in it. So it basically makes it adapt. And then on certain heads, you do have to change the screw in the bottom, because it's got to be the size that fits the all fit tip, and it might have to be a different length depending on how far down that all fit adapter goes into the head. Like Cobra, you have to go with a little longer screw, and then like Srixon, I think you got to go almost like a shorter screw because it goes all the way to the bottom almost. But anyway, it's still pretty simple. Once you change the screw out in whatever heads you have, if you got 2 heads laying around, you change the screws in them. You have a couple shafts, you go out to the range. I mean, but like I said, the most time-consuming part is changing those screws, and it's really not a big deal. You kind of pop them out. You take a new rubber washer, you slide the old one in, screw it into a tip, and it's really easy to do. But yeah, once you get it set up, you take it in, and I do have to say, the all fit thing, the one thing I do like is Club Connects. The shaft tip was super small. Like the shaft didn't go very far in. It didn't have a big insert depth. And then it also didn't go that far into the head. When you set it in, especially with some of the adapters, the Callaway adapters were a little longer. The tip didn't go very far in the head, so you had to tip all the shafts to make them play standard. So you had to tip about 3/4 inch, and then you had to butt cut them down to, say 45 or whatever. And all mine were cut to 45 to 45 3/4, right around there. But the problem is with all fit, it requires a longer shaft. There's the tip is a little longer. It goes a little deeper into each head, so you don't have to tip it. And so now the only downside to me moving all fit is that all the shafts I have for Club Connects, like pretty much on the wall behind me, if you're watching on YouTube, pretty much become useless because they're going to play tip 3/4 inch, and they're probably going to be about a 1/2 inch short. So I'd have to basically play a bunch of shafts that are tipped and have extensions in them, and I just I don't think I want to do that. So I'm going to basically start from now on, moving forward. I'm going to go all fit. I got to order in for a bunch of new tips. I already have all the driver sleeves. I have that kit, so I've got an order in for a bunch of tips, and any new shaft I get from here on out is going the all fit system. So I'm excited to do that. Club Connects did well, and the other thing too is, all fit, you have a bunch of adjustment too. Like you can actually still use some of the adjustment that the OEM heads have. You can go in and you can take things down a degree or up a degree or things like that. It doesn't have all the adjustment. If you're playing like a Titleist head, and you can go 3/4 of a degree up and then also make the thing flat or whatever. It doesn't quite go that far, but you can go up and down and loft a little bit. I think it's a little over a degree. I think what there is like 1.5 degrees that you can kind of go up and down. I don't believe, I'd have to check the specs on that. I don't believe you can change. Well, let's pull it up right now. I don't know if you can actually change like lie angle with them. I'm trying to see all-fit driver. Let's take a look at the universal golf driver. So yeah, you can go up and down 3/4 degree. I think, like I said, I think it's like up to 1.5 degree adjustment, and so it's like 3 degrees total. Where you can go, down 1.5, up 1.5, and it does say it has an upright and flat setting. So it looks like you can do a little more adjustment than Unifit had a good amount. You could go up and down 1, and you could make things 1 flat, 1 upright, all that as well. So they're pretty close there. But anyway, they're also a little cheaper. Well, they're way cheaper now. Club Connects Club Connects, you got to like pay a monthly fee to even be able to buy the stuff. But these are pretty inexpensive. Each shaft tip is $15, and then each driver sleeve, as I'm looking on their site, each driver sleeve is like is like $10. So basically, for the price of an OEM adapter, like if you're playing a TaylorMade or whatever, anywhere you go, those. I mean, I guess if you get like a cheap knockoff one off eBay, you can get them for like $10-12. But if you're buying like an authentic one, they're typically around $25-35, depending on who it is. So for, if you've got a couple shafts and a couple drivers, maybe it costs you $50, to basically be able to use all of those in the two shafts and say two heads. Yeah, you're looking at probably 40 with shipping, probably $50. So, a little bit more than one OEM adapter. You can basically have two shafts, two driver heads, go to the range, swap between the two, and be able to kind of tinker and test as much as you want. Excuse me. The only thing that I don't know is I don't know if it is like USGA legal for like actual tournaments. It is RNA approved. It doesn't say anything about PGA, USGA. So if you are somebody who plays at an extremely high level and plays in tournaments, you might need to check on that. But hey, for people like myself, whatever, who will never sniff a tournament that has any rules like that, you're good to go. But the other thing I do like about it compared to Club Connects is it's much slimmer when you install it, like the sleeve and the adapter, when you screw it into the head together. Club Connects is a little chunky. It's kind of thick, and you do notice it. And then some of their driver sleeves were either black or silver, depending on the material they were made out of, because they were trying to get the weights to kind of match up to the OEM weight. And sometimes you'd have a like Mizuno, and I think Ping had like a silver ring, so you'd see it. This year, everything's black. You can buy everything's black if you want it to be, and it's actually really slim. It doesn't look near as thick. Some of them actually look thinner than the OEM adapter that goes in. So it's very interesting. I'm excited to move over to it. It seems to be pretty high quality in terms of what I've seen. Everything fits together pretty well. Every once in a while you get a screw that is like either too long or whatever. I think it was with like maybe Rad Speed or something like that. I had to go put a longer screw in than they I think recommended. But other than that, it's pretty much all there. And then the only other thing is I've noticed that if you're somebody who plays like a rib grip, the way everything installs, it may not be. It may be a slight, I won't even call it a degree, but it may be a slight rotation, just cockeyed, whether it shuts the face, opens the face, whatever. They don't necessarily keep the shaft 100% aligned in the standard position. So, and it's just certain heads. It's weird. It doesn't seem to be every one of them. Like I noticed, I think it was like Tour Edge is slightly off. I think Mizuno was just slightly off, but then other ones, are not. So, that's the only thing if you're playing, and I think if you're going to play a system like this, a universal system, a rib grip's going to be tough anyway. So I think moving to something like a golf bra, like a Tour Velvet 360 or something round with like no logos or logo down at least, would be beneficial, just because you're not going to see if something is just a hair off, if that even, bothers you. I mean, some people it doesn't, but other players, you get a little more picky about the way things are lined up, and it may make a difference to you. So just some things to think about if you think about planning or thinking about moving over to something like this. Like I said, I think if you're somebody who owns a couple shafts and you try a bunch of heads throughout the year, whether you borrow something from your shop, or you trade something out, where you trade last year's head, buy a new head, or whatever. I think it's not necessarily just for fitters. I think somebody, guys like us who just like to hit a bunch of stuff, or own a handful of high end shafts that you've gotten over the years. It's nice that you can now use them in every head that you want to try. And even if it's something where, hey, I've got 2-3 shafts and I play one driver per year, I got the new Ping. Well, you can use all 3 shafts in the Ping now, and then if halfway through the year you get yourself a Stealth, hey, great, you can pop them in the Stealth. I mean, it doesn't have to be something where you've got like I have here, like I'm pretty much every head, and I pretty much have well, now I'm down to kind of 4 shafts now, which is kind of a bummer. Actually, probably 5 shafts, but and I've got some more on the way. I've got some stuff to test, so I mean that'll increase. But it's just one of those things where, I think even if you're somebody who just has a couple pieces, it's still, beneficial. And, as new stuff comes out and you try, different brands and things like that, you can always take those high-end shafts you have and you don't have to pull them apart, re-glue them into other tips. And then you find out, like one was a Titleist tip that was super long and you're trying to put in a ping tip and there's a bunch of, tip prep that's hanging out and it looks ugly. Just installed in an all-fit tip, called a day, and you can put it in any head you want. So, and like I said, the pieces are pretty inexpensive. So if you're looking to start it up, it won't necessarily break the bank, and it's just a little bit more than what you'd spend on an OEM tip anyway if you got a new shaft. So, like I said, I think it's pretty cool. I've enjoyed it so far. I think I did a whole show kind of reviewing it like last year or something like that. But so far, like I said, I've been wanting to move over to it ever since Club Connects kind of like stopped selling to individuals and pretty much required you to be a fitter and, pay into like their program or whatever. I've been wanting to move away. And I think getting like the new Ventus TR and getting a couple other shafts just recently has kind of like now made me do it. Because before I looked at it and I was like, well, I don't have any shafts to put in here. And now I had about 4 shafts, so it's time to go, and here I am. So I've kind of moved everything over, or I've started moving everything over. My back wall here will still have shafts on it, and unfortunately they will pretty much be decoration, which is a little bit of a bummer, but oh well, what can you do? So anyway, moving over to all fit, I'm excited for that just because I want to get something going again, and I want to hopefully I won't have to change ever after this. I'll just every shaft I get, put a tip on it, and that'll be the way. And like I said, they're $5 cheaper. The shaft tips are $5 cheaper, so you know what, that adds up when you buy 5 of them at a time or whatever, 10 of them at a time. It's significant savings over what you would have paid elsewhere. So pretty excited, but that's I guess my biggest news. I'm super excited. I got some stuff I'm also kind of like chomping at the bit because I've got one of the new Callaway golf bags in that's built for push carts, which is like right on the other side of me here. I've got that thing that I want to test out. I can't wait to test it. I just there's snow out there, so I haven't been able to test it yet, but I'm gonna slap that on my Moto Caddy M7. Excited to see how it fits and everything like that. I'm excited to try that, and then I've got some little stuff. I got a bunch of new Callaway gloves. I'm gonna try that slip-on one, the one that doesn't have any Velcro, which will be interesting. I've seen it before. I mean, I knew they made it for years, but I've never actually tried it because I never really kind of gave it that much thought. And I was like, well, it's a glove with. I kind of thought it was like a casual piece, whatever. And I was talking to one of my my buddy Austin over at Callaway, and he was like, no, it's legit. Like it stays on, all that stuff. So I'm gonna give it a whirl and see what happens. But I'm gonna give it a try. I'm gonna go to the range. I didn't have it before I went to the range over the weekend, so I wasn't able to try it before for last week. But I'll get it out there and try it. It feels pretty good on. It feels more secure than I thought, just putting it on in the office and holding the club. So we'll try it. And then I just got also in a Lab, a new putter, a Lab Mez 1, and again, one of those things that I was kind of, I've always known what Lab has been doing. They've got some cool stuff in the forum. Anybody who's been testing out Lab stuff has been extremely pleased with it and had a lot of good things to say. I've always been kind of, I guess, I don't want to say I'm a traditional guy when it comes to putters, but it was a thing that I kind of just, I didn't really love the old, more rounded, the DF 2.1. I just got a Mez. I sent in my custom fitting video, all that. The guys over there built one up, and I've been putting around with it here. Unfortunately, just indoors at the moment. But not gonna lie, I'm pretty impressed with it so far. So I'm gonna get Sam Hahn, the CEO, on the show probably in the next 2 weeks. I want to putt a little bit more with it. I know it's indoors, but I'm starting to get the feel for it a little bit because it's different. The line angle balance tech is definitely different. It takes just a little bit of getting used to, but once you start getting used to it and trusting it, it's pretty interesting. So I'm pretty excited to get that out on the course as well. But like I said, I'm going to get Sam on the show and have him kind of discuss a little bit more in depth and a little more detail about what's going on, because I am miles away from an engineer. But it's a putter that I've been pretty impressed with so far. Like I said, I got it out of the bag and set it down. It's always one of those things when you set down a line go balance putter, you need to love or hate the look. But when you start rolling some putts and start realizing some of the consistency and stuff, it's pretty impressive. So excited to get some more putts in with that. And then, like I said, I'll get Sam on and we'll chat up some stuff about that. But yeah, like I said, I got some handful of stuff. I got some other, I got some shafts hopefully coming. There's a lot of stuff coming, and like I said, as it's getting warmer and spring's getting closer, I mean, things are just, it's exciting. I'm getting the itch for golf, and every time I watch a tournament, I'm just more excited to get out and play. I mean, just watching people play, it's exciting. So anyway, enough about that crap. Into some club stuff. So not an absolute ton here, but I got like 3 clubs I'm going to talk about. The first one I'm going to jump into is one that I kind of forgot I even had. It was all these companies, when they send in stuff, they send in media samples. So when it comes to irons, they don't send in full sets of irons. It's just not economical to send that in. And we don't really need it. I mean, for photos, we usually ask for like a 4-iron, 7-iron pitching wedge, something around that. If you can give us kind of a long iron, mid-iron pitching wedge, get some in-hand photos, show you guys exactly what they look like in terms of offset and top line and things like that, and overall shape, that's what we try to get. And that's what most people send. And sometimes, nowadays when stocks are a little harder, sometimes we only get maybe a 6-iron or 7-iron or whatever. We only get one piece, and it's fine. We do what we can with it. It's always nicer to get a few more pieces just to show off kind of the progression of this set. But anyway, I kind of forgot I had this iron sitting here, and it is the new Cobra LTDx. So the new Cobra LTDx is replacement for the Rad Speed in terms of in the line. And the Rad Speed was a really good, kind of game improvement iron. It was something that was, made to be long, have a lot of ball speed, big sweet spot, easy to get in the air, and just kind of make the game easier and more fun. And the LTDx is basically taking that to the next level. So the LTDx here, I mean, it's got all the technology packed into it. It's got the power shell face, so the face that actually, it's the face, and then it actually wraps onto the sole as well. And that basically just helps increase ball speed, especially if you hit it low on the face, but just makes those shots that are low on the face, launch a little higher, go a little farther, keep a little more ball speed, and it's the sweet spot on this they're saying is 23% bigger than before, and like I said, they've also got this power shell, which I guess is some type of internal kind of steel bar that's wrapped in like a urethane that basically helps improve the CG location, but then that, wrapping it in like a urethane or a rubber type coating kind of helps with feel. And then on the back they've got their 3D printed badge, which Cobra is big into the 3D printing, and I do have to say 3D printing is pretty interesting. I mean, seeing the putters that they made, they're pretty cool. They've got some pretty cool designs. It's pretty interesting how they can kind of work that stuff into a putter. But this one here, it definitely is a little bit more of a game improvement iron. If you're looking for a blade type look, this is probably not exactly what you're looking for. When you set it down, it does have a little bit of offset. The leading edge is a little more rounded, and it's fairly long heel to toe when you set it down. But really, and the top line is going to be a little thicker. It's just kind of the way it is and the way it should be. But again, this iron is not made for Ricky Fowler. This iron is made for people who are looking to enjoy the game, hit it farther, and hit it straighter. But the first thing I say with this thing is, I had it in the bag. My buddy John was hitting balls with me, and of course, whatever's in the bag is free game to whoever wants to hit whatever. And he was like, "Oh, you brought this LTDx?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I did." So he was like, "Cool." Like, he's a guy who plays. Right now he plays the Srixon Z5 45s, and he really likes them. And it's one of those loves the shape of them, everything about them, and until he kind of wears them out, they're probably going to stay there for a while. And he hits them really well. So this is a pretty good comparison to that. And like he even said, he's setting them down though. Those 545s are classic in terms of having very, very little offset. The top line isn't crazy thick, and like proportionally from heel to toe, I mean they're really good. And that's why a lot of you golf WRXers like myself, there's 745s, 545s were the irons that everybody kind of still went after even when new models came out. But anyway, he kind of set it down. He said, yeah, that's a good amount of offset, and he's like, it definitely doesn't look as good as 545s, and to be honest, very few irons do. But he hit a few shots, and he was like, wow, these actually feel and sound really good. And I was like, really? I'm like, I haven't hit them yet. And, let him finish. And then I picked these things up and hit them. And the first thing I do say is the feel is actually really good. The feel and sound, very muted. It's just kind of a thud when you hit it in the center. And the feel is pretty darn soft for a cast larger club. You can definitely feel kind of the ball compress off the face. It's definitely got a little responsiveness to it, which in some of these bigger, irons like this, you don't necessarily get that. This one here, though, like I said, kind of a thud to it on impact. When you do miss it, you start to get some of that click back in there. But when you hit it flush, it definitely has a really good soft feel, and it really does go. I mean, the ball goes, it's easy to launch, easy to get up in the air. It doesn't go straight in the air, like some people would think, some of these game improvement. It gets up in the air, but it's pretty flat. It's low spin. This was an 8-iron, and, I'm playing, like, say, the P790s is kind of what I'm playing, and for me, like, that 8-iron there is kind of a 150 to 155 club, at most 155, like, that's the most I'm ever going to think I can hit it, and that's a really flush shot, but I'm playing it more like 150, and this thing here was definitely almost 160 when you hit it flush almost every time, and it was pretty good. I mean, the ball speed, I mean, I don't know if you can actually see it here on even the old YouTube because it's far away, but most of the shots hit and this is between me and another guy, hitting fairly center out to a little bit out on the toe, low toe, and even though shots got a low toe, still got up in the air and still stayed fairly straight. I mean, there was a little draw to them. They wanted to go a little left, but for the most part, everything you hit on here was pretty darn straight. It was, like I said, easy to get up, things to get up in the air. Still fairly flat, though. Like, it wasn't just straight up, straight down. The apex was a little more flat. And I think it's because these things don't spin a ton. But a really easy iron to hit and a really easy iron to hit straight. Like I said, with all the offset that it kind of has and all that, I was kind of worried about it going left. And me on the range lately, excuse me, has been a whole lot of left. But it's just, man, I don't know what it is with me lately, but there's been a lot of left in my game. But it's this thing here, like I said, really wanted to go straight, really easy to launch, and really did, like I said, it just had a really good feel. It was just really solid. And where it's not as soft as, say, like, Mizuno 221, it's definitely a firmer feel. It just doesn't have that loud audible click. It doesn't have a ton of vibration that gets to your hands. Even with just a standard kind of KBS Tour 90 in there, it didn't have a ton of vibration even off a mat. Even when you missed it low on the toe, it was still gentle on the hands and made you kind of feel like you didn't hit it as far away from center as you actually did. But I think between that badge and this power core dampening and all that, they really have tuned the sound to feel really good. It like I said, the look, is it blade like, whatever? No, but once you hit a few shots with it, I kind of didn't really care that much about the having a good amount of offset or anything like that. You just kind of get used to it and you just hit the ball. But I was really impressed with how good this thing feels for a game improvement iron, which that's typically not anything that anybody cares about, or not. I wouldn't say anybody cares about, but it's not as high on the priority list as the performance side of it. You'll get an iron that that feels really good. Like I said, I haven't hit the new Callaway stuff yet, but in terms of like this style iron, this game improvement type iron, I want to say this is probably one of the better feeling ones. I mean, Stealth is pretty good. This is really good, and I just, like I said, haven't hit the new Callaway stuff yet, just because They didn't have any irons for us at the time of media launch, so we never got any samples in, but it is like I said, a really solid iron. If you're looking for something that's easy to hit, it's consistent, you don't mind having something a little larger in the bag, I think this is something that is definitely worth checking out. If you're somebody who's thinking about, a more game improvement iron, but you hate the fact that, everything kind of sounds and feels really firm, I think this is worth a shot. So I was pretty impressed with it. I thought the ball flight was pretty neutral. Everything pretty much went straight. And when you hit it off the, slapped it off the toe or even the heel a little bit, the ball just wanted to go, keep going straight. So it was a pretty good iron. I was pretty impressed with it. I mean, like I said, the only thing that I wish it could change, I don't love the transition from the hosel into the leading edge. There's just like a roundness there that just doesn't fit my eye. I mean, for some people it may be fine, and there's probably a performance aspect to it. But for me, I don't love that look. But again, it's still a really good performing iron. So it's definitely worth trying. So the new the Cobra LTDx iron, it's worth trying. Like I said, if you're in that category, and like I said, even a guy who plays 545s was impressed with the sound and feel of it, which is saying something, because those are pretty good feeling irons. So that is the Cobras there. I'll stick with irons for one other one more. And speaking of Srixon and 545s, how about XXIO's X iron? So XXIO's X iron is basically a lighter weight version of, say, a 545. It's an oversized iron. It has a fairly minimal amount of offset. It's not a crazy amount. It kind of looks like a player's club. It's the fit and finish of it is pretty nice, and it kind of looks like a player's club, but it is just a larger size. So the height of the face from the sole to the very top is a little taller. It's a little longer from heel to toe, but when you set it down, it kind of has that look of a little more of a player's club. The top line's not crazy thin, but it's not thick. I mean, I would say it's kind of that medium. Like I said, a little bit of offset. These things kind of play in the same realm as ZX5s. They're multi-piece, so the face is a separate piece and is probably laser welded on, and it's and then they've got their badge, and then there is the the new rebound frame that Srixon has been using a lot, is in here as well. So basically, a way that the frame kind of flexes around around or with the face to kind of add some distance on it. But it's hollow bodied. You can kind of see down in the undercut and the channel there, and there's some things going on. You can see kind of some weight in the toe, but goes basically all the way down to the sole. A thin face on the face, or thin face down near the sole, so shots down there get up in the air. But it's basically a lighter weight player's distance iron. So it's actually got a weight in the grip, and the grip is super cheap and super lightweight. I think it's done to be lightweight, but it doesn't have a ton of feel to it. There's not actually a ton of texture as well. When they're new like this, they're fine. I mean, they have fine grip. They've got a little bit of a rib feel to them. They got a rib running through them, but they are super thin. They've got decent traction. How long they last, no clue. But I can't believe it's a crazy long or crazy bit amount of time. But they actually put a weight in the butt end as well to kind of create a counterbalanced iron that's easier to swing faster and create more distance. I put on the swing weight scale. It does come in at basically C9.5, almost D0. So it definitely is a little lighter than a traditional iron, which usually comes in around D2. So definitely lightweight. The shaft in it is those Nippon the 950 GH Neo, and this one's a DST, which I guess is specifically made for XXIO. That is even a slightly more counterbalanced, but the 950 GH is a lightweight steel shaft, easy to get the ball up in the air, and it's just overall a package meant to be lightweight for people who are looking to swing it a little faster. So Like I said, I don't mind the look of them. And then this is kind of I want to say the second generation. They did an X iron a couple years ago that looked even a little bigger than this one. This one's a little bit smaller looking than the old one, but not by probably much. At least it looks that way. I'd have to get the old one to like compare them, but yeah, overall, I mean, a lot of tech, put into these things. They're not cheap. They're pretty expensive, but they do pack a lot of tech into them. And like I said, the overall look is pretty good. I mean, for somebody who wants a real game improvement iron, but also wants some ball speed, wants some help. The first thing I noticed is I think the first swing hit a really good ball with the 8-iron, and it said 160 and or 161 right on the launch monitor, and everything was crazy long. There are definitely let's see what are the specs. I mean, the 8-iron. So the iron is 33 degrees and the pitching wedge 43, so they're pretty darn strong, but they're super easy to get up in the air. The 8-iron, which is the one I was hitting that I brought to the range. I think I actually brought a 6-iron and kind of forgot it was there, but I hit the 8-iron a bunch, and super easy to launch, really easy to get in the air, ton of ball speed. The thing was super fast. Anywhere you hit it on the face, for the most part, it was moving pretty quick. You just anywhere you got on the face, it just launched off there, and it was really easy to hit. Had a ton of power. It was a little control-wise a little tough because it is light. I mean, C9.5. I mean, especially for men's irons, that's typically not something that most people play. Most people are around D0 to higher, and these were definitely lighter. So control-wise was a little different. And it was just, I think, a matter of feeling where the club was throughout the swing. It was a little harder to do in such a lightweight package. I think if you're somebody who's really transitioning to a lighter weight set of irons, it might take a little bit of getting used to in terms of that, swinging this club. But again, performance-wise, the thing really went, like I said, easy to launch. It probably launched maybe just a hair flatter than the LTDx, but not by much. And like I said, distance-wise, there was very little drop-off between shot struck in the center and shot struck out in the toe. I didn't hit a whole lot off the heel with it. I will say, though, that I was disappointed in the sound and feel. Very firm and much more of a click than an audible click than I expected. I've hit XXIO stuff before. It's typically very soft, and it kind of has a lot of feel to it. And I would have to say that was the one thing I was disappointed. It just didn't have that. It was kind of clunky. It had a lot of it was audible. It was loud. My friend hit it. He thought the same thing. He said, this thing just, it's got a really firm feel to it. And then a buddy of mine who was at the range as well, walking by, I think listened to me hit a couple shots and was like, "What is that?" Because he's like, it was loud, and it definitely doesn't have that same, smooth, soft feel that you would expect, I think, from a XXIO forged iron like this. But performance is there. I mean, performance really works well. I actually do want to take it out one more time when we get on course, just to see. It's got kind of a slightly reduced version of the Tour V sole. It's a little shallower. It's not quite as pronounced in terms of the bottom of the sole, that triangular sole. Not quite as aggressive. This one's a little shallower, but it'd be interesting to see how how that sole plays on turf. Because, I mean, off a mat, you can't tell, but out of actual grass, to see how that plays compared to the Tour V sole off, say, the ZX5 or ZX7. Just to compare. I think it'll be better for a shallower attack, just because said looking at it, not quite as aggressive, but I think it still could offer some really good turf interaction because of that V sole, and it's so good. And maybe for players who are playing off really firm conditions, this sole could maybe be a little easier for them, or offer a little better transition through the ground, but. Like I said, easy to hit, ton of ball speed. Like I said, it was when you hit it flush, it was 160 or longer every time with an 8-iron. And I'm not a guy who hits irons very far. And that thing, I mean, the first thing I looked back and saw that it was like 160s, I was like, man, this thing is just it's almost a club longer than my irons, and it was like effortless to do. I mean, you didn't have to swing hard, you didn't have to put any effort into it. The thing just kind of would swing itself, and even for that lighter swing weight, it produced a ton of power, and I was pretty impressed with that. Like I said, they really nailed the ball speed thing. I think with these irons, you got to go back and maybe just change maybe the plate on the back or whatever to add some more dampening to it or some more vibration reduction, because you felt a little more vibration. It was definitely a little like harsher feeling than even that LTDx, which is not forged. I mean, and granted, the XXIO X it's forged, but it's that, you know, two-piece kind of forged thing, so half of it is forged, half of it is not, but it is, you know, like I said, a really great looking iron, or a good looking iron for something, you know, being a little bit oversized and all that. It just, like I said, just wasn't my favorite when it comes to feel. It just was firm and had a lot of click to it, so I was a little bummed with that. I didn't expect it. Like I said, I've hit the previous X and some of the other XXIO stuff, and it's always been really soft and felt great. And this one just doesn't have the same. But like I said, if you're looking for kind of a lightweight kind of player's distance iron that offers a bunch of forgiveness, but you want to be able to hit it farther, you know, maybe this XXIO X is worth looking at, because it definitely will add some distance, and it's pretty effortless to get in the air, especially with, you know, that 950 GH Neo. It's, you know, super easy to get up. It jumps in the air. Apex is definitely a little sharper than like the LTDx. You can tell the thing spins just a little bit more. But like I said, super easy to get in the air, super easy to hit it a long ways. You know, if that's what you're looking for, you know, maybe it's worth trying. But if you're somebody who's looking for, you know, feel and sound first and everything else second, I don't think you'll be quite as impressed with it as you maybe as you would have maybe with previous generations of this iron. So a little disappointing there, but, you know, hey, I mean, everything, you know, unfortunately not everything can be perfect. So, but one that I actually was surprised with is the same XXIO X line, and it would be the driver, the X driver. And the interesting thing about the X driver, so the whole X line from XXIO is more of like, you know, a little more players lightweight distance kind of focused. Guys who, you know, low handicaps previously. As you get a little older, like myself and many, you know, some of you, you know, you get a family, you get, you know, between life, family, whatever, you just don't get to play as much, all that. Look for a little distance, but you don't want to go to, you know, the big game improvement irons and all that. That's kind of what the X is, and everything in there is kind of lightweight, and the X driver is kind of built the same way. It's made to be really lightweight, generate a ton of speed, and it has kind of the same thing. It's got a bunch of tech packed into it. They're using the same kind of rebound frame that they're using in the ZX7, ZX5 drivers that have been actually pretty successful and are kind of under the radar really good, using a lot of that technology. They've also got kind of a funky little, they call it an aerodynamic wing in the back here, which is kind of a raised little section, but they call it active wing, and basically make it a little more aerodynamic, so you can swing it a little faster. It swing weight's out a little bit lighter, which is interesting because I knew this thing was built to be lightweight. It has kind of a really crazy lightweight shaft that goes in it as well. The like stiff flex, you know, driver shaft is like 43 grams. So it's and it's like 45.5 inches long. The head weight, they claim it at 199. It's probably 199 with an adapter. It's probably 199 with an adapter, because I measured it without, and it was 194. And a ZX7 head without an adapter was 195. So not as quite as light as I thought it was going to be, but the shaft is, like I said, 45.5 inches long, and they do put a counterbalance weight in the end of it to swing it faster. But yeah, swinging a 43 gram shaft, and the stiff flex is kind of light or kind of whippy. It's not the stiffest stiff flex iron out there, or stiffest driver shaft out there. I actually had part of the other nice thing about the driver is they're now using an adjustable hosel, and it's the same exact adjustable hosel as Srixon uses. So and Cleveland, I think, uses the same thing in the Launcher XL. But they actually have an adjustable hosel on this one. They did not have it on the previous head. This one does, and so I took the shaft. I had a hazardous black smoke shaft from a ZX7 that I just tossed in here, and took it out of the range and hit it. And I do want to say, pretty impressed with how the head performed. It was a 10.5 head with that hazardous black, and it was again one of those things really effortless to hit. I mean, you didn't have to go swinging crazy hard. You didn't have to try to get the club head up in the air, or try to get the ball in the air. It launched with no problem, and ball speed was pretty darn good. I mean, I hit some pretty good drives with this thing. Even though the look, the shape may not be for everyone, it's definitely a little more rounded off, especially when you're looking at kind of the face of it and the painted top line and all that. A little more rounded, and it's got a lot of graphics on the top, which some people just don't care about, because, I mean, when you think about it, there's a little bit of chrome and green and all that on there, but is that more distracting than, say, a big piece of carbon fiber that is there from other brands? So, in terms of, how that looks, each person's going to be a little different on what they like and that. But other than that, it's just a gloss black, and like I said, it has a little bit of graphics on there. And then the face is very it reminds me of old Callaway, the way it's so rounded and the way they round it off to the sole. It's very, old school Callaway looking to me. But I was hitting the center of the club face pretty well with this thing for basically my whole range session, and actually had some decent hit some good drives with it. The biggest thing that I was kind of shocked about was spin was actually much lower than I thought. That was going to be kind of a spinny head, and most of my shots probably averaged right around like 2,500 to 2,600 RPM. Like, it was much lower than I thought. Like, when you hit it off the toe, it would kind of drop a lot. Hit that hook, it would definitely drop and be lower. There wasn't quite as much like a lot of the new drivers out there, like the Stealth and the Rogue stuff, Cobra. When you miss the center, the spin doesn't vary a whole lot. This one, you saw a little more variation. So if you hit it off the heel, you saw an increase in spin, and you saw the ball kind of dive to the right. I wouldn't call it dive to the right, but go to the right, a little more fade there. When you hit it off the toe, you kind of see the opposite. You see kind of more of a hook. But when you hit it in the center and you hit it well, like I said, it was kind of that 2,600 RPM, launched around 11. It was actually kind of, at least for me, was very impressive when you hit it, in the center. It was pretty forgiving. I mean, when you hit it off the toe, it would move a little more than, say, some of the, like a Rogue ST or Rogue Max LS or LTDx from Cobra. It would definitely move a little bit more than that. It didn't seem quite as stable, but the distance part of it, when you hit it in the center, like I said, it really did go, and it really did move. And it was, like I said, a flatter, little lower trajectory than I expected. I expected it kind of launch to the roof, and even with a hazardous smoke black, I expected it to get up and be, kind of up in the air, spin a good amount, made for, those people who have a little, slower club head speed. Not that I'm bringing any heat, anything like that right now, but, thought it was basically built for that. And yeah, like I said, when you hit it center, it had I had some good drives with it. So it was pretty impressive to see that it worked pretty well. And the other thing that was very interesting was, when I first pulled it out of the bag, I was talking to my friend, and I just kind of let your finger, kind of hitting the face, bouncing a ball off it. And I was like, man, this thing's going to be so loud and tingy and whatever. And it wasn't. I mean, it was metallic. When you hit it, it definitely has like a metallic kind of ting to it. But it wasn't near what I thought it was going to sound like. It actually was much better, much more muted, definitely more reserved than I thought it was going to be, from just kind of like bouncing a ball off the face and doing those kind of things. I was kind of surprised. I expected it to be, loud and, annoying. It wasn't. It had a decent crack, like metallic crack to it when you hit it in the center. When you got off onto the toe and heel, you definitely hear a little more ting to it. But when you hit it solid, it actually sounded and felt pretty decent. So fairly impressed with that there, and kind of, like I said, amazed that the head wasn't quite as light as I thought it was. So I think with that lightweight, they're counting on a lot of that counterbalance to kind of take over there. But overall, a pretty solid driver. And again, I think think I said the same thing about last year's version of the X, that it was impressive and actually went a long ways. This thing's the same thing. It was definitely impressive, and I like the fact that they put an adjustable hosel on there, because now you give especially because this is aimed at a little better player, to give them the ability to set it flat or set it more upright, or change the loft a little bit, because it does sit just a hair shut. The 10.5 sitting on the ground, it does sit like a hair shut. So taking a 10.5, opening it, lowering it just a little bit of loft to square it up, would definitely improve the looks and everything like that. So giving you some adjustability, some options there is pretty nice. But the X driver was better than I thought. I didn't have high hopes for it, and it definitely outkicked its coverage of what I thought it was going to do. But yeah, it was a good day at the old range. So yeah, pretty much got that these three. That's pretty much all I got for this week. Don't know what else to say. Hopefully, as I said, everybody has a good weekend. Enjoy it. I know up here it's going to be warm. Warm enough to golf, but unfortunately I think most of the courses are still going to be closed because the ground is still frozen, or probably has that last bit of snow that's clinging on to life that will be gone by probably Saturday night or Sunday by the latest. But I highly doubt I'll be playing, unfortunately. I would love to, but I just don't think anything's going to be open. So if it is, I'll try my best. But I think I'm going to head down to the cottage with the parents and the family, get everything opened up, and get kind of ready for spring. I know we're a little ways away, but I think things are gonna open up the old place with the parents down there, and be ready for when it does get nice. But that's all I've got this week. I'll try to do my Q&A today. It'll probably be a little short. I'm going out to dinner with the wife. It is my birthday today. I'm not trying to ask anybody for anything in terms of saying anything to me, but yeah. So I probably won't do a long Q&A, but I'll try to do one today. Answer some questions, and if you want to hit up or have any questions, comments, whatever, hit me up on Instagram at Club Junkie Pod. And have a great weekend. And we'll talk to you guys next week.